characteristic inside the DNA of this amazing variety, which mainly can be described by exotic fruit like pineapple, banana, and the stone fruit in general, like peach.
Today, we welcome Giuseppe. He is a winemaker from Christopher Creek Winery. We also have the CEO of Cask Capital to talk about the expansion that Cask Capital is making outside of whiskey, where they started, to some other things as well. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us on.
Thank you.
So to kick this off, Jeremy, I just want to remind the audience what Cask Capital is. Can you run us through the platform?
Yeah, sure. So Cask Capital started as a vision to make inaccessible assets, wooden cask age assets, as we refer to them, accessible on a broader level. There's so much history going on in these types of oak where spirit is appreciating, but it's most of the time people don't know the history. They don't know, they can't access to it. So our goal, and that's how we started with Scotch Whiskey Cask, was to open up that industry, have people join this risk heritage and reap the benefit of it as well.
So I do want to dive into why you decided to make this shift from whiskey, where you started, into other things like wine.
So as you know already, like Scotch Whiskey Cask, when you buy a cask, a new made cask, it takes a very long time to appreciate. It's a beautiful product. There's so much chemistry going on in an oak barrel as it matures. But for us, it was always the goal to cover all types of cask age assets. And wine, of course, as a product being so easily accessible, like in a bottle, like a lot of people drink wine, people understand wine, people know on average so much more about wine than Scotch whiskey. And that makes it perfect sense for us to actually expand to fine wine. And we launched now with the fine wine bottle collection. And the next step would be to expand, of course, to wine barrels.
And we've started with wine that was already in process, that was ready to be bottled. And it's from Christopher Creek Winery, which is an amazing winery. And Giuseppe, you're the winemaker there. Can you tell us a little bit about the winery and the two bottles that are available now on Cask Capital?
Yeah, thank you. So Christopher Creek Winery is one of the oldest winery of the Russian River, which is one of the most iconic AVA of Sonoma County. So AVA means American Viticulture Area, so a restricted area that has specific characteristic. In some point of view, we are the most similar to Burgundy in France. So not only about climate, of course, it's a little bit warmer. We make a little bit fuller body wine, but the variety are mainly the same, plus other examples. So we are really focused on Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, plus we have other variety exclusive of this area. Christopher Creek Winery is one of the oldest, was born in 1972, and then with another name was called Sotoyome, and owner of the Native American, but then was bought from family originally from north of Italy almost 15 years ago. And now we decide to be focused on our small production, more focused on direct to our customers. I mean, we have a very nice patio. We receive a lot of customers from all around the world. And as I said, we are really focused on Pinot Noir. We have different kind of Pinot Noir. We are really focused on single vineyards and a particular sub area of our property, and Chardonnay as well. That's the main characteristic. Then we can move to little details regarding the two wines. Let me tell you a few things about our Chardonnay, which is our estate Chardonnay. The vineyard is located in Hillsburg, in the heart of Russian River. It's a Chardonnay 2023, which was a cool vintage. So the ripening of the Chardonnay, even if it's an early ripening variety, arrives around the middle of September, which is a little bit unusual. So in this case, ripening in this situation makes the final wine a little bit more elegant because the grapes have a little bit more time to concentrate flavor in the skin. Against all the tradition of California, we decided to make an unhooked Chardonnay. So with the target to announce the characteristic inside the DNA of this amazing variety, which mainly can be described by exotic fruit like pineapple, banana, and the stone fruit in general, like peach, followed, and this is a characteristic exclusive that you can develop only in Russian River, talking about the entire Sonoma County, a very deep citrus note that add complexity, is on the nose and then confirmed on the mouth and then in the aftertaste, which create a very crispness of this amazing wine. There is only aging in stainless steel. There is no touch of oak to no cover the first kind of flavor that comes from the alcoholic fermentation. There is no malolactic to keep this wine a little bit more crisp. The acidity is announced. The minerality is untouched by the malolactic. We try to arrive to the bottle as soon as possible. After a smooth fining, where we use just the physical aspect. We don't use any kind of chemical compounds. So we chill the wine, stabilize and proteic point of view and tartaric point of view. We just go to the bottle at cold temperature to preserve all the primary flavor, making this amazing wine that fit perfectly with all kind of seafood, not very complex dish, seafood, sushi, and light appetizer seafood base. So the red blend is a blend of a variety that we have, a red variety that we have around the winery in Hillsburg. Is a Petit Syrah, Syrah, Cabernet Sauvignon, a little touch of Pinot Noir. So those are all the variety that we have around the winery, because the Chardonnay, for example, is a little bit far. All variety give their a specific apport in this complex wine. So because it's a blend, the complexity is the main target. So every single variety apport something. The Petit Syrah give the color and the fruity flavor. The Syrah give the body and the structure. The Cabernet Sauvignon apport this green side, which remind you the green pepper, bell, wet tomato leaves. At the end, the Pinot Noir give, even if it's in a small percentage, give this touch of spiciness, which at the end announce all the compounds together. Plus, of course, there is almost 14 months of oak aging, 30% new and the rest neutral, to add complexity on the nose of vanilla, cinnamon, nutmeg, and to smooth the tannins that, especially from the Cabernet Sauvignon, are a little bit more aggressive, so should need more time on aging. Of course, all the single variety are vinified separately because they have a different time of ripening. At the end, even the oak aging is separate. Just before the bottling, we create the final blend. We try different solution, but usually, yes, we put just a little bit of I have the percentage. So we have usually 30% of Petit Syrah, 30% of Syrah, 30% of Cabernet Sauvignon, a little touch, 10% of Pinot Noir to close the profile, especially on the nose.
And now I'll be honest, I normally drink white wines. I like Chardonnays, but this red that you sent and let me taste was fantastic. It was amazing. This red blend is really excellent. I know that this is why we got involved with it. Joe from Earthlings actually went and he did a tour in your area, and your winery pretty much knocked him off his feet. He was really impressed, and he wanted to get involved with Cask Capital here. So, Jeremy, the next stage here, if this first batch goes well, and they're going to be able to be shipped here pretty soon, you can buy them on Cask Capital right now, is to kind of fit more of the Cask Capital vision of going through the entire process, going from vine to actually putting it in the casks to bottling. From what I've heard, it's about an 18-month process. You're thinking about doing it with Pinot Noir and an oaked Chardonnay. Why do you like this idea of taking it through the entire process and, tokenizing that, and how can people follow along with that process?
Well, first of all, the beauty of this proposition with the Chardonnay and the Pinot Noir is that indeed we can basically document it and even track it fully on chain from the beginning if we'd like to. So to be able to share this process, educate people as well, because education is also a major part of Cask Capital, is first, of course, we want to provide access, open up these niche industries, but educating is a crucial element that comes along as well. So for us opening these two, I mean, Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. I mean, if I look at in my personal network, like friends and family who drink wine, it's usually the Chardonnay and the Pinot Noir. So it's definitely the most known wines there are in the industry, and to actually have people be able to join that journey from the beginning, from basically from the grape to the bottle, and actually be able to get the bottle shipped to their house and enjoy it, with friends and family. That's like would be amazing.
So, Giuseppe, can you walk us through what that process looks like? I was talking to one of your colleagues. It sounds like these grapes are going to be ready in the fall. And then, of course, you're going to have to go through the entire winemaking process. It's going to have to go into the casks. What's that process look like, and how long do you expect that to take?
Okay, so our Pinot Noir usually reach the perfect ripening in the middle of September. I'm talking about the technologic ripening, which is the accumulation of sugar and the decreasing of acidity. Then, after you reach this, because of the DNA of this amazing variety, you have to wait at least 10 more days for the phenolic ripening, which influence some flavor and the color as well. Then we pick the grape in the coolest moment of the day, especially in the early morning, by hand. And then we destem and crush immediately. Of course, it's very easy because we are very close to the winery. I do 50% of immediate fermentation, inoculating some selected yeast, and 50% I prefer to do a cold soak in a cold temperature using dry ice. So this one will announce more the aromatic aspect. The other fermentation that start immediately will announce more the structure and the body of the Pinot. So at the end, of course, we will put together to reach the complexity of the final wine. So once the alcoholic fermentation start, we mix the solid part with a technique called the punch down by hand. We usually do 3 punch down per days to aerate the mast, which in this case, of course, is a liquid, solid, and so seeds, skins, and mast, and sometimes even more than 3 times. Of course, sometimes the temperature reach higher temperature, so we still keep going, adding some dry ice because we want to do a very smooth, even longer alcoholic fermentation with maceration. Once the fermentation is done, where the yeast transform all the sugar in alcohol, we keep going to do a few more days of punch down to extract a little bit more, which is essential when your project include you're going to move to the barrel. So then once the fermentation and the process is over, we move the wine, in this case with the skins and seed, into the press. So we press everything, obtaining a wine that goes straight to the barrel. This because then we are going to do the operation called batonnage. So every 2 or 3 weeks, especially during the malolactic fermentation, which is going to take place into the barrel, specific tools, we do this batonnage, which creates some mixing of the yeast that is going to move to the bottom of the barrel. This technique will announce the structure, the creaminess, even the nose of this the final product. So then after the malolactic, we reduce the amount of batonnage we can do even 1 per month. This until when it's time to move out from the barrel, we want to create the final blend. And then, of course, we fine again only with cold temperature, so without any chemical compounds. And then we move to the bottle as soon as possible to preserve the primary flavor, in this case, of this wine with this oak aging.
It's an incredible process, and maybe we'll get into the Chardonnay at another time. But for now, I want to go on to Jeremy here. Jeremy, why does it make sense to tokenize these wines and go through this process? What we're seeing with Cask Capital.
So the reason for tokenizing these, it makes sense in that aspect, is that you can actually start putting and tracking also the data that you're generating on chain. So as we've done with our whiskey casks, as an example, for us it's very important to be transparent with the data that we have. When we put a cask online on our marketplace, we want to know what year it was basically poured in a barrel, what the alcohol percentage was, especially with whiskey, when you have to regauge it, you have to know what amount percentage alcohol there's still left in the barrel, because as it matures, the alcohol evaporates, it gets, it becomes less strong, the barrel itself. So in that aspect, we want to put as much data and on chain in the metadata, of course, of the NFT, and share that knowledge, share that data, make it accessible as well. Have people, the option to read into it if they want to dive into the details of these specific barrels that we're going to tokenize.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun process to watch. Again, these wines, the first batch are available right now on Cask Capital. You can go on and get them today. I'm looking forward to going through the entire process from vine, as we mentioned, to cask, to finally bottling. It's going to be a blast to watch how that all unfolds. And of course, we're going to try to get as much information about the wines out as we can. But guys, thank you so much for hopping on here today. Giuseppe, thank you for explaining the wines and the winery. And Jeremy, thank you so much for hopping on and explaining Cask Capital.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Thanks for having us on.
Thank you.
I'm now posting these interviews of Hedera builders independently to my channel. The community, influencers, and media outlets are free to use this content to spread the word on what's being built on Hedera. Once they're all uploaded, you'll be able to go to my channel and search for whatever topic or team you're interested in to find more information. Or you'll be able to get the most recent Hedera news by watching the latest HBAR weekly update. So check them out.